Okay, hello everyone to part two of the component to controlled assessment practice. If you haven't seen the first video of this, please have a look back at that and then come back onto this video, and it will give you an overall view of what this controlled assessment is about and how you can best approach it. On this video, we'll be going through the spreadsheet task, and we've broken that into a few parts. This first one here is task 2A, and it kind of follows what you get on the scenario. This video, however, I'm not going to talk through every little thing. Instead, what I've got here are screenshots of what you should be doing with instructions. So I will probably be just going through some of these slides, but what you should be doing is having a go at this as and when I do this. If you need a bit more time, or if I'm moving too fast, do pause the video or come back to this again when you're completing the task. So without wasting any time, we're just going to move on to the next slide. So you should be given, as part of the scenario, or alongside the scenario, some data sets on a spreadsheet. This data needs to be imported into a spreadsheet that you might be working on. Your teacher should be able to kind of tell you how to best approach this. As you can see, some of these slides have instructions with arrows indicating where you should be clicking on while you're working on this or doing this part of the task. This is obviously some sample data set. Your one will be different depending on the year that you complete this task and the scenario that you are following. What you could also do is open the data set that you need to copy data from, and you could copy and paste it instead if that's a little bit easier. But I think taking the steps of importing the data is a good skill to actually use. But if that fails, you can open up the data set spreadsheet, and you can select all data and then copy this over and paste it onto your spreadsheet. Once you've done that, we're now ready to start task 2, which is task 2A. So as you can see here, it does say that most of the tasks, regardless of the scenario that you have, kind of ask you to do similar types of tasks on the spreadsheet. There may be some differences, but most of the tasks that you will be asked to create will be very similar or the same. When you look at the scenario and what you need to do as part of the scenario for task 2, it should give you a breakdown of all the different things you need to do. But nonetheless, I mean, in any case, all the skills that you were picking up here will be very useful for completing this task. Every task will almost always start off with formatting and the use of borders. So here's some instructions on how you can do that. Text wrapping is another way to format text, just to make sure that all the text appears in one cell. So it's not kind of going across different cells of the heading. So you can experiment with some of this stuff, and that's what this practice task is about. So those of us that have used freeze panes before, this is pretty much the same thing. But here, as we scroll down, what we don't want is what we do want actually is for the headings or the titles to stay put and the data below it to just kind of scroll, so we can kind of see the different data underneath all the headings. Here we have a way to adjust the column width just enough so we can see all the data stored in each of the cells. If you haven't used conditional formatting before, what this actually does is it allows us to give us a rule. When this rule is met, it might display something in a particular color, or those conditions, or for the data where the condition isn't met, it doesn't do anything. So it's worthwhile experimenting with this and having a go. It is very useful to make things stand out in a spreadsheet. So here we're actually going to be selecting the cells and only formatting cells that contain a specific text. So we want those cells highlighted perhaps. So here we are choosing the fill color of that cell. So in this example, any cell that includes the words Lake District should be colored in a particular color. And here we can see what this would look like. Here we are specifying the data type of certain cells. So you can have certain cells including date, time. Here we are reflecting the number. You can also choose currency depending on the data that cell is going to contain. Some basic formulas here. So here we have a function called VLOOKUP. Now what this does is it will kind of look through vertically with some data, trying to find particular bits of data that you request. This is one that you can perhaps have a look at. Now, depending on the scenario and the data that we actually are asked to find, this might change slightly. It might be an idea to actually pause the video at this stage and have a go at doing this. Now, when you're doing this, you might need to shift from one page to another page to get data from a different page. Here we have the use of an autocomplete feature. The equal sum, or the sum function, is actually used to give us the total of something. And it works really well when we want to add all the values in a particular column or a particular row. And as you can see from the example there, we start off with equals sum. We have to open a bracket and then select the values that you want to add up. So here in this example, we've got L2 to L46. Now, the good thing is that you can just select L2 on the cell, press and hold the left mouse button. While holding it, just scroll right across to L46. And that will give you the range of your selection, and then you close the bracket and then you press enter, and it should give you the total of all the cells that you have selected. That brings us to the end of getting your data ready for us to manipulate in the next stage. If you need to go back to any of these videos, please do so and pause it when you need to while you're having a go at this. If you need any help, drop some comments, drop a comment in the section below, letting me know if there's any support that you need. Yeah, and be sure to like and subscribe the video. It always helps, and we have that as well. Okay, I will be putting together the next task that you need to complete. It's going to be task 2B. That's a bit of a shorter task, not as many slides, but again, it's part of task 2. We need to get this done before we can move on to that next video.